Hi, Judith.
Hi,
How are
Melissa.
you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Welcome. Welcome, Judith. Welcome, everyone watching this video. My name is Melissa Beam. I'm the director for the Academy for Astrological Medicine, founded by Judith Hill, who's going to be here today talking to us about our new class, Astrology of Love, Synastry A to Z, 20 Essential Keys to Assessing Romantic Compatibility. And I know that this is a usual pivot from what we normally do. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the idea that came about this. So I've been seeing more and more about how people's health is impacted by their emotional life and the people that they choose to be in partnership with. And knowing that Judith is such an all-around master astrologer, not just for medical, but for vocational, relationship astrology, and just life path. I wanted to see if she'd be open to doing a chart synastry class because she's so great at it. And so I want Judith to share with you all a little bit about her experience and why she's so qualified to give this class and why it's so important. So, Judith, I just kind of want to know what went through your mind when I suggested a relationship astrology class.
I was so happy and thrilled because for years I've slowly developed this complete system of comparing two charts for prospective mates. Also, I did all kinds of comparisons. We can go into that, but I've been wanting to share it and haven't had an opportunity. And this is probably the most complete system for one genre that I've worked on in my life.
And in some of my discussions with you, you mentioned that you actually helped a dating service with some of your professional skills. That was one of your, I mean, you were a bit of a gypsy because you've worked in all types of things. You've worked people with you've helped people and their businesses with electional astrology, and then you've also helped a dating service. So can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Yes, I worked in the inner city for years as a full service astrologer. And I did all kinds of couples comparisons. I picked employees for a radio station. I picked people's realtors. I helped them select their lawyers and their surgeons. I picked horses for a woman who would purchase horses. I picked dogs. I've helped with people when they had a choice of two babies to adopt. I've done every single thing with Synastry for decades. And then late in the game, about probably 15 years ago, I was asked to help a lady who's running a very, very, very high-end dating service, which was an interesting experience for me. I would be given, 5 or 6 candidates for the gent usually, and, had to pick the one that I felt would be most favorable. And so I've had just enormous, very long time experience with couples comparisons. And then the selection of marriage dates was a specialty of mine for years. And that is very, very, very tedious, difficult work, I'll tell you. So I have a lot of experience in this field and I'm ready to share it.
That's great. And I guess my other question is, you've had such diverse experience. How did people find out about you? How did they know to reach out to you for adoption dates or for their horses? Like, what were you running ads or was it just word of mouth? How did that happen?
It was word of mouth. I've never been able to get away from this. I've tried several times to get some job, do something else. Always tons of phone calls. And I also, working in the inner city, I did every possible kind of couple. So anybody can feel comfortable with this course. And I have a wide experience with, different arrangements. Some people were polyamorous, some people, whatever it was, I would never say no. I would do the reading for them. And I learned a lot.
Now, let's talk about that because I actually know some people who are polyamorous and a little bit about the techniques that you'll be showing. So typically when you look at charts, you're generally comparing two charts at a time. So would this class do that same thing? Is there a way that people can apply this to various types of relationships?
Yes, we're going to be studying how to compare two charts, the 9 key factors I use, and then really over 20 other points we look at and how. But we only really can compare 2 at a time.
Mhm.
And then, I'm structuring the class around potential partners or romantic relationships because each type of relationship is a little different, like
Yeah.
parent-child. I've got a lot of those. Um, you and your father too, you and your work business partners are different, but these principles can be applied to these other types of relationships, tweaked slightly. But this is a most wonderful tool for practicing astrologers or just everyday astrologers who are like to, play with it, to learn to compare their chart with a potential spouse or romantic partner.
And so, as you're structuring this workshop, which by the way is a 3-hour workshop, that's quite a lot of content. What do attendees need to have ready? Should they have their charts on hand? Should they have a notebook? Should they have uh, like one of those rulers? Like what should they actually have as they're sitting down doing this workshop with you?
Well, the ideal attendee, first of all, should know basics of a chart. They should know what a planet is, a sign is, how to know what your ascendant is, where it is, how to know when a planet is in a certain sign, like, oh, I've got, Venus here. And they should know what the houses are, basic reading skill, so they can follow me.
Mhm.
And secondly, it would be nice if they had a chart on hand and maybe the chart of their current partner, or they could use any chart, but we are looking more at relationships, or an ex or anybody they wish to compare with, or just their own chart. Just their own chart would be fine. And uh, their, pencil, notebook, because it's really material that I should stuff into a 10-hour or
Mm.
20-hour class. I always do this and I get crazy giving too much.
You do it. It's very, yes. You give a lot of content, and I'm like, Judith, that's too much. But that's why you have loyal students that keep coming back because they know they're going to get a lot for the time allotted. And people can always go back and watch the recording if something is a little bit too advanced for them. But I was gonna ask you about um going back to like the clients and the people that you see. How often would you say someone comes to you for a reading and what they're actually looking for is relationship advice?
And when I was running the full office, it was, oh, maybe, well, everybody wanted to know. Everybody wanted to know, men and women, but people who came and said, can you, compare a chart for me? And I would only do it with the written permission of the other person, by the way, or a phone call. I wouldn't do astrological spying, but that happened fairly frequently. And then couples would set up with me to have their charts compared before they decided to move in together or get married. This is important. In India, when they still arrange marriages, in some areas, that arrangement partly has to do with the comparisons of the two charts of the proposed couple.
That's true. They do still do that. A lot
Mhm.
of my Indian friends, they've had their Vedic charts done before they got married.
Mhm.
So even for non-arranged marriages, they do that. So that's so interesting, and I wonder how that would reduce the divorce rates if we started making that a common practice here in the United States.
It probably would, because one of the first things you do is you look at the person's chart to see how successful are they themselves all by themselves in relationships. Now, this will be a pretty much, 101 course. But that being said, all the major keys will be looked at. And then people still need to get their practice in.
I'm really excited about this class because not only are people going to be taking away tools that they can apply to their everyday life and their potential dating or with their relationship with their partners, but mostly astrologers are going to be learning how to become master relationship astrologers, essentially, with these simple tools that you're going to be giving them for knowing how to accurately assess synastry charts.
Oh, yes, and this will very much pump up your practice. If you are a practicing astrologer, you will have a real method. Start here. This is most important. This is second most important. This is not so important. And if this isn't happening, you're not going to make it. And we're going to be looking at it that way.
What is the number one mistake that you see astrologers doing when they are doing relationship readings with their clients? Like what's the number one feedback that you get from clients that you're just thinking that's not how you do it?
Well, that's a great question, but clients who come to me don't usually bring tales of their experiences with other astrologers. But I think probably one of the problems that modern astrologers would have with comparing new charts is that the charts are so filled with asteroids that you don't know what's most important. And there are things there's the top 3 things, the top 9 things. Like, if somebody's Saturn is in a quintile to the other person's series, this is not the number one thing in a relationship. Relationships all have their positives and negatives. Nothing is perfect, but you really, really want to know about the top 3.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to this class. I know all of our students are also looking forward to it. Is there anything you want to leave students with that they should know about this class before we get to it?
I would say that every single person who's interested in astrology and knows their chart basics will get some very useful lifetime information about this that they can use. And it will also help them make their own choices. They don't end up 10 years with the wrong person or 5 years being physically tired every morning because your energetic field is not compatible with that person in your bed every night. There's very important things you must know to join with another being, and physically, mentally, spiritually. So this will be very helpful physically, mentally, spiritually to all students who know something about astrology and want to use it.
That's perfect. And I love the fact that we're coming out with this relationship class because, as I mentioned in the beginning, who you are in relationship with does have a big impact on your health.
Mm.
There's medical astrology, and you can look at someone in their chart and you can look at, them as a person and the planets affecting them. But you also have to see who else is affecting them and how their planets are affecting them as well. So having these positive harmonious relationships in your life is so important to your own physical and mental well-being that you can't disregard it. It should almost be part of medical astrology.
Yes, and at the end of the reading, we will have a couples comparison chart of a very famous couple that made it through time.
So excited. Thank you so much, Judith, for taking the time to tell us about the class. I'm so looking forward to it, and I'm going to have my pencil and my notebook ready.
And a cup of tea.
And a cup of tea.
All right. Thank you.